Good morning, at least it's good morning here. I wanted to do this in a video because sometimes it's a little easier to convey information this way instead of just by typing it all out in a really lengthy email that we just don't have time to read. So I wanted to address some of the questions that folks have had about grades on the first test having come back and students thinking about the second test, and the second test may have not gone well. A lot of students said that the second test for chemistry was pretty tough. So we just wanted to talk about things that we see year after year and what kind of resources are out there for your student. So I apologize if you've heard this story before, but one thing that engineering does is they've done a study and they look to see what caused a student to drop engineering versus what made a student stay engineering. And they looked at the whole 4 years experience. But what was interesting was the one thing that correlated the highest was the grade the student got on their very first test, or received on their very first test. This doesn't surprise me at all. You think about it, they come to college, everything feels out of whack, you add the core on top of that, and, the one thing they tend to fall back to is, I'm a good student. Tech did not make a mistake bringing me in here as an engineer. And then they hit that first test, and maybe they get a 29 out of 100. Well, this is probably the first time that's ever happened to them, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do now? That might be where we are right now. So the question is, now what? How do we fix this? How do we get back on track? Well, one, we want some strategy. We want to implement some strategies that not only work for this class and this semester, but can be used in the future too. So one of the things that we always recommend is study groups. There's a lot of value in study groups, and there's been a lot of research that says the student gets into a study group a little bit earlier, they're going to do better than one who doesn't. So it gives them a lot of other people to bounce ideas off. So if they've got a wrong concept, it can get corrected. Also, if they've got a strength, they can bring it to the group and get that praise for having that strength. If they have a hole in their knowledge, then maybe someone else in the group can fill that in. So there's a lot of benefits, not to mention learning how to work together, to being in a study group. So we highly recommend study groups. But probably the first place your students should start is talking to their professor. The professors are known for being very approachable here at Tech. So it's just a matter of finding the time to go during their office hours. But I recommend going to their office hours. I recommend talking to them before or after class and making that connection and saying, I'm having a really hard time. What can you recommend? Because I guarantee your student is not the first one who has struggled with that subject. Professors know that sometimes what they're teaching is hard. So help them find that connection. Go to the expert source, someone who's seen it all before and can probably help them find some direction. The other thing is we offer tutors. Those are posted and very easy for your student to find in the regimental orders that they're required to read every day. They'll also be included in this email. The university has tutors. The chemistry department, the physics department, the math department all offer tutors. The university studies has tutors. The Center for Student Success offers an opportunity to try to connect one-on-one with someone. And there's a lot of different places that they can find some tutor help. They just need to go. The ROTCs in particular have Navy has its own hours where you go and you're in a room with someone who can help, someone who's paid to help. So make sure they're going and taking advantage of those. A lot of times the complaint that they'll give you is, I'm too busy. I can't go sit in a room and have someone talk at me. I need to get my stuff done so that I'm prepared for the next day. I don't have time for this. So the question is, do you have time not to pass the class? And then how was all that time spent? You got to come back at them with, helping them see that that's maybe not the right answer, that maybe it is worth the time to go and see a tutor, especially if they're in a study group. The study group, they're getting their homework done, they're working on what they need to accomplish, they're feeling like, okay, this is a valuable way to spend my time, and then if they run into trouble, they've got the tutor right there who can walk over and help. I think that's the best option is, get that study group to go and work where the tutors are and then make that connection if they need it. It also helps them, the tutor, figure out where they are and what they're actually working on. Because sometimes they cover many different sections of a subject, and so they may not know exactly where that particular section is. But if the whole study group's there, then it makes it easier for them to catch back up about where they're at and give them help. Now, they should read the book. One of the big challenges, I think, the first test, and they're past that, but the first test is that maybe 50% of the information came out of the book and was never talked about in class. And even though they may feel good, man, I went to class every day. If they didn't read the book and honestly read it for understanding and take notes and understand it, then they were out of luck when they hit those questions on the test. So, they need to be doing that reading. They really need to be doing the 2 hours of study for every hour they're in class. All these things we talk about for time management, they really need to be working on them. And, your student may be doing all these things and still struggling, and those individual tutors might be the best option. So then the next thing I hear is, well, I'm going to drop the class and I'll just take it over the summer. And there's a lot of things that might happen if we try that. So for some, it might work, but one thing you should be very aware of is that the transfer guide, when you go into the transfer guide, you go into Virginia Tech's admissions page, and instead of applying as I am a freshman, you check I am a transfer student, and then you'll get to the transfer guide. There's a couple other ways to do it, but look for the transfer guide. You can put in your state, whether that's Virginia or somewhere else. A drop down will come up of all the schools that they've previously taken credits from. They'll click on that, and then you will see side by side a list of the course numbers at your student's summer school and at Virginia Tech. And you need to make sure that those numbers match up exactly with what's on the checklist for your student's major. There's been a lot of changes in engineering and math in particular. They combine linear algebra and calculus. They combine vector geometry and calculus. And so now if you take a math class that used to correlate, it won't correlate going forward. So you need to make sure that they're taking the exact courses they need, or you need to be talking to admissions or the registrar about what those classes need to be so that they will transfer here. And also one thing to know is ROTC have a lot of rules in place about how many credit hours a student must take, whether or not they'll accept a course. University may take it, but Navy may not, or Army may not, or Air Force may not. So they need to be talking to their ROTC instructor. In fact, I absolutely believe that they should never, ever drop a class without first talking to their ROTC instructor. That ROTC instructor, they may get dropped from the program if they drop below a certain number of hours. Now, there's 12 hours is generally what we consider a full-time students. They don't have to worry that if they drop below 12 that they would be not allowed to live in the residence halls, or that it would directly affect financial aid. But I can tell you that financial aid has a year-long goal of how many credit hours a student must have in order to maintain their financial aid. And if they drop below 12, it becomes really difficult in the spring semester to hit those number of hours. So they're really kind of setting themselves up for the following semester to be struggling. So be careful. The other suggestion that was made was, even though they may intend to withdraw, and they do get those 6 credit hours that they can withdraw from a class without it counting towards their GPA and their record, even if they want to do that, maybe it would be worth their time to go, okay, I've made the decision, I'm going to withdraw this from this class, I'm going to use those 6 credit hours or the 4 credit hours or whatever it is, and I am but I'm going to go to class. I'm going to hear that information. I'm going to at least get exposed to it. But now the pressure's off. I'm not trying to get the homework done. I'm not trying to get ready for the test. So it does pull off some of the time that they were putting into that course, so they can put it into their other classes, but they're still getting exposed to the information so that when they do retake the class, at least they've seen some of it before, and that might help them. So, we don't want them jumping out of things just because right now it hurts to bang my head against the wall and I just want it to stop. Maybe we can do this with some thought, and we can make sure that we're doing what's absolutely best. So I know that you are beating your heads against the wall trying to figure out how to help them and how make this all better and how they can help them succeed. And we are too. And hopefully between all of us, you know, if your student's talking to their academic advisor, which they should be before they ever change a major, by the way, they should talk to their academic advisor. They're the folks that are here all the time and know what's going on and what might happen and what the different options are. You know, they've got an ROTC instructor perhaps. If they don't have ROTC, they have Lieutenant Colonel Russell in BBI and Colonel Miller. They have their deputy commandants. They have their academic officers. We're all here, in addition to you, to help them succeed academically. And we just want to help them kind of conquer time management and conquer how to break the code on how to succeed in a class in college, which is different than what it took to succeed in a class in high school. So maybe, you know, it's just a learning curve, and we're all here to help. So I hope this helps. I'm going to put in this email a lot more information, just specific information about tutors and where you can find them. And if you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of us. All right. Have a great Hokie day. It's a beautiful one here.